don't want to move very fast. You want to try to keep something between you and your target. My kind of role in nature, I'm a hunter and a trapper.
A surprising discovery inside Tom Oar's remote Montana cabin has sent fans and longtime followers into a frenzy. For years, the legendary mountain men star has lived far from civilization, crafting his own tools, clothing, and shelter with the kind of skill that most people only read about in history books. But what was found inside his cabin just moments ago has raised new questions about his health, his future, and how much longer he can continue living off-grid.
We try to make as much money off of everything that we kill. I live off the land, try to keep something.
The discovery is shocking, not just for what it reveals about his private life, but for what it suggests about the man himself. Stay tuned as we reveal what was found inside Tom Oar's cabin. Who is Tom Oar? For decades, Tom Oar has been regarded as one of the last true frontiersmen in America. A man who didn't just talk about living off the land, but mastered every piece of it. Long before he became a fan favorite on Mountain Men, Tom had already built a life defined by self-reliance. Born in Illinois and raised around rodeo culture, he spent years as a competitive bronc rider before the wilderness ultimately became his permanent home. In the remote Yaak Valley of Montana, Tom and his wife Nancy carved out a lifestyle that most people consider impossible. No neighbors for miles, no modern conveniences, no easy access to town, just dense forest, harsh winters, and the kind of isolation that shapes a person's character. Viewers admired Tom not only for his craftsmanship, but for his calm, steady way of navigating challenges that would overwhelm almost anyone else. His cabin, hand-built and constantly refined over the years, became a symbol of that world. Everything inside it, every tool, pelt, blade, and piece of wood, told part of his story. That's why the recent discovery is so unsettling. To understand why what was found inside his cabin matters, you first have to understand who Tom Oar is and how much of his life is woven into that small, isolated space. In the weeks leading up to the discovery inside Tom Oar's cabin, a series of subtle but worrying signs began to circulate among those who had followed his life closely. The cabin in the wilderness. Deep in the Yaak Valley of Montana, Tom Oar's cabin stands quietly among dense forests and rugged terrain. Its location is deliberate, far from roads, towns, and casual visitors. Tom and his wife, Nancy, have chosen a life of isolation, relying on skill, preparation, and the natural environment to sustain themselves. Privacy and independence have always been central to his lifestyle, and the cabin reflects that philosophy. Constructed entirely by hand, the cabin is simple but functional. Its walls, roof, and foundation are built to withstand Montana's harsh winters, using materials sourced from the surrounding forests. Inside, every element serves a purpose. A wood-burning stove provides heat. Work surfaces are arranged for leatherworking and trap maintenance, and shelving holds tools and supplies in neat, accessible order. There is no excess. Each item reflects careful planning and efficiency. The workshop area illustrates the heart of Tom's daily life. Bundles of tanned hides, hand tools, and partially completed projects are organized methodically. Implements for trap maintenance, cordage, hooks, and stakes sit ready for seasonal use. These details reveal a life built around preparation. Each tool and material is stored for immediate use, supporting routines that ensure survival and productivity in the wilderness. Even the living spaces reflect thoughtfulness and adaptation. A folded blanket rests near a stool by the stove, and basic supplies are stored efficiently. The arrangement shows attention to comfort as well as function, demonstrating how the cabin supports both work and daily life. Nothing in the cabin is decorative, everything has a purpose. Tom's choice of location supports this lifestyle. Proximity to forests and rivers allows access to wildlife for trapping, as well as wood and other natural resources. Being far from towns and roads ensures independence and control over his environment. Seasonal planning is evident in the organization of supplies and project areas, reflecting a life structured around natural cycles rather than modern schedules. The cabin itself communicates the principles of Tom's life. Its quiet order, well-maintained tools, and carefully arranged materials tell the story of decades spent living intentionally in the wilderness. There is no dramatic discovery. The significance lies in observing a space that has been shaped entirely by skill, discipline, and self-sufficiency. For anyone seeking to understand Tom Oar, the cabin is both home and record. It demonstrates how he and Nancy sustain a fully off-grid life and why they have chosen to remain in the remote Yak Valley. Each shelf, each workspace, and each tool reflects a life designed for independence, survival, and connection to the natural environment. Whatever had happened, it was clear from the moment anyone stepped onto Tom's land that they were about to find something out of the ordinary. None of them, however, expected what they were truly walking into. Unlike the workshop, which reflected active crafting, or the study, which showed organization and planning, this area demonstrated how his living space was fully integrated with survival. Every shelf, every bundle, and every container was arranged for maximum efficiency, reflecting decades of experience living alone in the Montana wilderness. Along one wall, several shelves held the practical supplies necessary for both leatherworking and trapping. Bundles of tanned hides, neatly stacked and sorted by size and type, indicated preparation for future projects. Tools for shaping, stitching, and finishing leather were stored nearby. Knives, awls, and wooden stretching frames. These items were not new or elaborate. They were simple, functional, and well-used, consistent with what has been documented about Tom's craftsmanship. Everything was arranged so that work could be done quickly, efficiently, and without wasted effort. Nearby, a small rack held implements used for trap maintenance. Thin wooden stakes, metal hooks, and cordage were organized to be easily accessible. While there were no active traps set at the moment, the presence of these tools, combined with bundles of spare materials, illustrated a life built around routine preparation. Tom has long been known to maintain trap lines for furs and pelts, and these items reflected that ongoing responsibility. Even the smallest details, like neatly coiled rope or tins of preserved supplies, reinforced the careful planning necessary to sustain an off-grid lifestyle. A modest wood-burning stove occupied one corner of the room. It was not warm, but nearby stacked logs and a simple fire-starting kit indicated that it was used regularly. Alongside it sat a small wooden stool and a folded blanket, reflecting adjustments for comfort and practicality in a space where long hours could be spent working. Tom's routines clearly account for both efficiency and the demands of living in the wilderness, showing adaptation to seasonal and physical needs. Perhaps the most informative aspect of this section was how it reflected why Tom chose to live in this remote cabin in the first place. Publicly, he has stated that the Yak Valley provides the combination of isolation, access to wildlife, and opportunity for self-sufficient living that he values. The cabin is strategically located near forests and rivers, allowing him to maintain trap lines, gather supplies, and live off the land with minimal interference. Interviews and television appearances confirm that independence and solitude are central to his philosophy. He intentionally distances himself from towns and modern conveniences to maintain control over his environment. This philosophy is evident in every detail of the space. Supplies are arranged for efficiency. Workspaces are designed to reduce unnecessary movement. Seasonal tasks, such as preparing hides or maintaining gear, are planned in advance, often months ahead. The cabin itself is simple but functional, built by hand to suit the needs of its occupants. Everything is deliberate, reflecting a life designed around independence and a deep understanding of the natural cycles that govern wilderness survival. The area also contained signs of careful long-term preparation. Small containers held preserved foods and spare materials, ready to support him through the winter months. Even his notebooks and project lists, while not dramatic, demonstrated consistent planning and foresight. There was no evidence of haphazard living. Every item had a purpose, every corner was utilized effectively, and every workflow was organized to support self-sufficiency. This final section of the cabin reinforced a central theme. Tom Oar's life is a deliberate integration of craft, survival, and philosophy. He does not live remotely for show or dramatics. He does so to maintain a life of discipline, skill, and independence. His choice of location, his organizational habits, and his attention to seasonal cycles all converge to create a sustainable system that supports living entirely off-grid. The cabin is more than a home. It is a manifestation of decades of experience, careful observation, and a clear understanding of the natural environment. By the time they left this part of the cabin, the evidence was undeniable. Each tool, each bundle, each note reflected a man but fully committed to a life of self-reliance. The space demonstrated not mystery or drama, but purpose and preparation, illustrating why he has chosen this lifestyle for decades and why he continues to live in such a remote corner of Montana. The third major discovery was not a single object or secret. It was the totality of a life methodically lived, designed to endure the demands of the wilderness while maintaining independence and control over daily life. What did the discovery reveal? The final section of the cabin offers insight not only into the objects within it, but also into the life that Tom Oar continues to lead in the Yaak Valley. For decades, he has chosen isolation, self-sufficiency, and close connection to the natural world. And the cabin is a clear reflection of that lifestyle. Everything inside, from tools to supplies, demonstrates a life carefully organized to support independence, craft, and survival. As of the most recent reports and interviews, Tom Oar still resides in the Yaak Valley with his wife, Nancy. The couple remains largely off-grid, living in the same hand-built cabin that has been home for decades. Tom continues to maintain his trap lines, process hides, and craft leather goods, while Nancy supports daily routines and household management. Their lifestyle is consistent with the one documented in mountain men: remote, structured, and reliant on skill rather than convenience. The cabin itself reflects this ongoing routine. Workspaces are neat, tools are organized, and project areas are clearly maintained. Finished leather goods, partially completed projects, and supplies are stored methodically, ready for the next task. There is no evidence of abandonment or neglect. Every aspect of the cabin shows continued use. This attention to organization supports the demands of wilderness life, where preparedness can mean the difference between comfort and hardship, especially during Montana winters. Even small items in the cabin highlight a life of self-sufficiency. Shelves contain materials for leatherwork, spare tools for traps, and containers for preserved food. A wood-burning stove remains a primary source of heat, and stacked firewood demonstrates foresight for colder months. Seating, blankets, and work surfaces are arranged for both efficiency and comfort, reflecting adaptations for aging and long hours of manual work. Each item serves a practical purpose, aligning with a lifestyle built on preparation, skill, and routine. Tom's choice to remain in the Yak Valley is rooted in several factors. Isolation allows him to maintain control over his environment and continue his trapping and crafting without interference. The surrounding forests and rivers provide direct access to resources necessary for survival and work. Moreover, living off-grid aligns with his philosophy of independence, personal responsibility, and living in accordance with natural cycles. Interviews with Tom emphasize that these elements are not merely convenience, but fundamental to the life he has chosen. Trapping remains a central component of his lifestyle. Tom has described his trap lines as both livelihood and tradition, requiring regular monitoring and maintenance. Supplies for these activities, traps, cordage, and baits, are stored in accessible areas of the cabin. Similarly, leatherworking continues to occupy significant space and attention. Bundles of hides, specialized tools, and partially completed projects indicate ongoing craft and adherence to skills honed over decades. These routines not only sustain a practical life, but also serve as a structure for daily living, maintaining continuity and purpose. While the cabin conveys the demands of wilderness survival, it also communicates a life of careful planning. Seasonal calendars, notes on projects, and organized materials demonstrate that Tom structures his life around environmental conditions and personal capability. He has adapted tools and workflows to accommodate aging while preserving independence. The careful arrangement of items and attention to detail reflect both foresight and respect for the challenges of remote living. Importantly, while Tom and Nancy's life is isolated, it is not disconnected. Interviews and public appearances show that they remain engaged with a broader community through occasional contact with neighbors, participation in supply trips, and interactions with the Mountain Men production team. These connections, though limited, indicate a balance between solitude and necessary engagement. The cabin remains the center of daily life, a functional hub where independence, skill, and routine converge. As of today, Tom Oar continues to live much as he has for decades. He remains in his hand-built cabin, tending his trap lines, processing hides, and crafting leather goods. He and Nancy live a deliberately structured, self-sufficient life in one of the most remote areas of Montana. There are no public reports of him leaving permanently, relocating, or abandoning the cabin. Every detail of the space, from workbench to stove to storage, reflects a man maintaining the same principles that have guided his life: independence, preparedness, and adaptation to the wilderness environment. The cabin serves as a living record, choices, skills, and values. Far from dramatic discoveries or hidden secrets, the true insight lies in the daily routines, careful organization, and deliberate lifestyle that continue to define him. Tom remains in the Yak Valley, living a life of quiet independence, skill, and self-reliance. A life entirely consistent with the principles documented over decades of observation and public reporting. The cabin is more than a home. It is a testament to a life intentionally designed for survival, craft, and freedom within the wilderness. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and click on the next video shown on your screen.